Motorhead Garage, presented by DragonfireTools.com, is brought to you by RockAuto.com. All the parts your car will ever need. Campbell's Custom Care, your detail specialist. And by PaintedAutoBodyParts.com, the leading U.S. auto body parts online store.
This is Motorhead Garage, presented by DragonfireTools.com. Now, Motorheads, I know you've done this before. You've gone to jump a vehicle, you get the jumper cables in there and you stick them on the post, and they keep popping off. And that's because the posts on these GM side post batteries are so small. It's just a little nut. And I wish somebody would come up with a better battery bolt. Rod, you've got a better battery bolt. How does it work?
I do, Dave.
Yeah, and I know it was born out of frustration.
Absolutely. Yeah. One night, trying to jump a vehicle in a rainstorm, go to clip on to one battery. As I go to clip on to another battery, I come back to find these off, put these back on, and come to find out the one on the vehicle, they came off too.
Keep coming off. Anytime you put a little pressure on them, they come right off just because of the way they're designed.
It was a bad comedy show.
Yeah.
And I knew there had to be a better way.
And it's happened a million times to me when you're jumping somebody else's vehicle. And,
no doubt.
Yeah, and there's not a lot of space in there either, so there's only a certain way to actually put the jumper cables in.
That's correct.
So you ended up soaking wet, but you also came up with an idea that was born from that. And it's called the Better Battery Bolt. How does it work?
Correct. So basically, with the jumper cables falling off, with no surface to grab onto, create a new version where they're ribbed so the jumper cables can bite onto the ribs and stay on.
And it's extra large there, as you can see here. This one holds on a lot easier, and it's going to be hard to get that off there with the Better Battery Bolt. So a couple of things that make it unique. The ribs on there.
Correct.
That's something that you don't find even on a top post battery that has a big enough post for everything to grab onto. You've got that, and also the extra length makes it easy. But installing it is also super simple. I know that to get one of these off, it's somewhere between a 7 and an 8 millimeter wrench, depending on where it was made or when it was made.
If it was damaged previously, you don't know what size it is now, so you end up grabbing a pair of pliers, which is the wrong thing to do.
Yep.
So we came out with a new version of this where it's just a 1/4 inch socket design where the ratchet wrench fits right in, and now the bolt becomes the socket.
Fantastic. Yeah, so you don't have to look for that 10 millimeter wrench that everybody's trying to find in their toolbox.
Everybody has a 1/4 inch ratchet.
You got it. Very cool. Now, who's using the Better Battery Bolt? Who's this really aimed at?
So anybody that has a vehicle from 1972 on that still has the side post battery, they'll love this invention. People that are in autocross have asked for, this type of bolt design.
And why's that?
Well, they're easy to change batteries in and out of if they have to do something in a quick fashion. And if you're up against a tight area with the covers on it, there's no way for the battery itself to bump into something in a tight space.
Gotcha. The Better Battery Bolt also comes with a cover for the positive and the negative as well.
Right, to prevent any shorting out with anything that's close to the terminals.
So the autocross guys, that's a perfect example where you might want that cover and the battery starts bouncing around on you.
Autocross, hot rodders, people that are now doing LS swaps in other vehicles that have space constraints, this is perfect for them.
And in the same vein, you mentioned the hot rodders, people that are building street rods and that sort of thing. Why is the side post battery a good option for them a lot of times?
If they're storing their hot rod in, for months at a time, they want to clip on a trickle charger, they can do so by just adding a pair of clips to the charger, and it stays on.
And it's the same old story here. If you're using a trickle charger, you put the trickle charge on one side and one little bump of the vehicle, and that comes right off. Here, it's going to stay on with the Better Battery Bolt a lot easier.
And it'll be ready for you to fire up when you come back to start your car.
And you know how it is. You trip over the cord or something like that, and it would yank out if it was on this side, and you're not going to be able to run your hot rod next time you get to the garage.
Absolutely.
Even though this is incredibly innovative, there's one little tweak that you've made, and it's made a lot of difference for some people.
Yes, it was a longer design because I designed it off of one particular vehikel.
So that's the original right there.
That's the original length. And we got some feedback saying, I have tight spots. I like to get into it somewhere tighter, so I made it a little bit smaller.
Gotcha.
So it's still designed with the ribs. It's still designed with the 1/4 inch insert, so you can still use the 1/4 inch ratchet.
And that's still going to give you enough to grab onto with your jumper cable?
Oh, absolutely, as we demonstrated here.
Very cool. This is an easy way to make life a lot more convenient for you, whether you've got a street rod or if you just want to have it on your vehicle in case you need to jump it and you get one of those rainy days, you don't want to get soaked out there, and you don't want to be frustrated. You want to be on your way as quickly as possible. Where can folks find the Better Battery Bolt?
So simply go to betterbatterybolt.com, and for our Canadian friends, they can search eBay for Better Battery Bolt.
Well, you've got to be nuts not to try these bolts. These are incredible. These are a life changer if you've got to get into a tight space or if you've got to put a trickle charger on your car. We'll be right back with more Motorhead Garage presented by DragonfireTools.com, so keep it right here.